Hello and welcome back to Chengi's World. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is Women Ask Wednesday. Yes. So today's question actually was a little bit of a surprise because I had actually prepared to record a different question. But today's question is from Rel L1, who commented on my Instagram and asked me a really good question that I have been meaning to address for a while. And the question is, hey Chengi, it's interesting that you post this because I was just thinking about the topic of compromise in the context of relationships. However, I feel like a lot of us compromise a little too much rather than under compromise. So what is the line between compromising and settling? Would love to hear your thoughts in a video. So I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm going to do this one instead of the one that I was going to do. So thank you so much because I really appreciate you asking me this question because I had meant to actually do a video on it. Okay, let's answer this question. So you are absolutely right. In most situations that I encounter with women that I work with, it is often the woman that ends up making the biggest sacrifice. It is often the woman that is required in a relationship to constantly be the one that does all the overcompromising or settling for a situation that they're not happy with. Because by and large, it's very difficult to negotiate with a man's ego. And there is nothing that we can do about a man's ego if he's not doing anything about it, if that makes sense. So what ends up happening is the woman tends to constantly be the loser in this situation. And much of it has to do with our inability to communicate the things we want whilst allowing somebody else to have the ability to have what they want. So this, so Ral was referring to a post a meme I put up about the nobility of compromise. Okay, so there I can see a few areas here where compromise is required and where compromise in itself in different areas. So we're going to start off with what to me compromise is. Now compromise to me is I went to the shop to get a pair of blue jeans. I wanted blue jeans. That's what I went to the shops to get. But when I got to the shop, they said to me that they didn't have blue jeans, but they had a lovely dark gray pair of jeans. I liked the dark gray pair of jeans, and so I made a compromise on color. What that means is what I really wanted was jeans. I didn't, and I got a pair of jeans. I didn't walk out with a skirt. I didn't walk out with a blouse. I walked out with a pair of jeans, but I compromised on the color. Okay. So how does that look like? What does that look like in terms of compromising when choosing a mate? Okay. So you can say to yourself, you know what? I want a man who is, kind, generous, thoughtful, sensitive to my emotions, sensitive to the things that I want, a man that can provide and protect and cherish me. And I don't want him to have children. I don't want him to have a child, or because I really just don't want the baby mama drama, okay? But I want all of these amazing qualities, and I don't want him to have a child. And then you meet this incredible guy who has all of these qualities times 2, but happens to have a child, okay? Now, the difference to me with compromise is a compromising woman recognizes that actually he has a past. I have all of these qualities that are important to me. I have 51% of the things that I want. And then you realize that actually he only sees his child every other weekend, and you could plan to do something on those other weekends that he whilst he has financial responsibility and emotional care over the child throughout the time, it doesn't mean that you're in competition with that child. You don't feel that he hasn't got his priorities in check. Now for me, compromises, guess what? I'll take the loving guy that's great and awesome and cares about me and gives me his time and attention and genuinely loves his child and shows responsibility towards that child, because then I know that the children that I'm going to have with him are going to be loved exactly the same way. He has a good relationship with his ex. They get on really well, so there's not going to be any baby mama drama. So I end up with a great guy, and I compromise on the fact that he's got a child. Settling is he hasn't got any of these attributes, or they're very intermittent. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. And he has a child, and baby mama doesn't get on with him. Settling is, well, I just wanted a man, so I got man. I got man, right? So you haven't got anything out of this. Settling is often when you abandon your core needs, when you abandon the core desires of your heart in order to get something for something's sake, okay? To say that, well, I've got a man. Settling is when, well, I've got a house. I wanted a 4-bedroom, standalone house. Now I'm in a little cottage that has 2 bedrooms and I have to squish all my life in there. That is settling. Compromise would be, well, I wanted it to be a detached house. Well, there's a beautiful 4-bed terraced house that's roomy and spacious. You still get your 4 bedrooms because it's all about your core needs. It ultimately comes down to what you need to have to be satisfied and comfortable in a relationship. What you need to be happy in a relationship is really you making yourself happy. Like I've said on my Instagram channel, happiness is your business. It is no one else's business. But what you need to be comfortable, to know that I can be in a relationship, be comfortable in a relationship. That is not want to leave every 2 minutes, not think whether or not I made the right decision. What I mean by comfort is an ability to have a level playing field where you don't want to abandon it. You might not always be happy all the time, but it's a comfortable space for you. You're comfortable navigating that space. And the only way you can do that is to understand your 5 core needs. I say 5 because we can have a million of them, but when we have 5, we condense them to the very essentials. What are your core needs? Do you need a man who can provide? Do you need a man who will be able to protect you? Do you need a man who will cherish your feelings? Do you need a man with time? Do you need a man who is whatever? For you to be comfortable, what sort of relationship and what does a man have to fundamentally bring? Even if he can't bring anything else, if he brings those 5 things. And so when you're in a negotiation and you meet somebody and you know that they're going to meet those 5 core needs, even if the rest doesn't fit in, he's tall, dark and handsome, you are not compromising the things that matter to you most. Compromise is when you hold on to your core beliefs, your core values. And whenever you are asked to violate yourself, violate your beliefs, violate your core in order to please another person, you're now navigating into very dangerous waters. You're navigating into creating a toxic relationship, and you're beginning to settle. That's when you start to settle, but many of us don't know when we're settling or compromising, because we come into the room without understanding of our core needs. We come into the room without understanding of the things that truly, truly matter to us. We come into the room without a self-awareness. So I'm going to be doing a webinar very soon. It's going to be exciting. Ladies, I'm going to advertise it on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm going to put it on my community channel. But I really want you to log in and come into this webinar. It is off the chain, because I'm going to be talking about self-awareness. I'm going to be talking about the 4 different types of women. I'm going to be talking about what woman are you? Why are you the way that you are? Why are you choosing the men that you're choosing? I cannot do a video of it. It would be way too long. And I really want us to interact on this webinar. And so I'm going to invite you to it. But much of our problem is we're not self-aware. So we compromise our core values, and then we realize later that we settled, but we didn't know what the core value was. So it's important to understand your core beliefs, the things that make you you. What are the things that fundamentally makes Chengi Chengi? So that's settling in terms of choosing a mate. But then there's an issue of compromise when it comes to a couple and dating. And constantly, sometimes a lot of women, I did a survey recently, and a lot of women feel that they're constantly having to give up, surrender, give up. And part of compromise within the context of day-to-day situations. So sort of choosing what is compromise and what is settling. It's about being strong enough within yourself to know that when something truly, really matters, and sitting there and thinking, how can I also allow him to have what he wants? How can I also make it possible for him to have what he wants? So he would rather I didn't go out today and spend the whole day with him, but I promised the girls that I'll meet up with him. How can I serve him and serve me without feeling resentful? So maybe, you compromise and you spend as much time with him and tell your girls, like, I won't meet you for dinner, but I'll meet you later on for drinks or at the party or whatever. There is always that halfway house, that halfway place that you can meet somebody. And so we need to embrace the whole nobility, the whole idea that everything is about how we can serve both purposes, with everybody giving up a little bit along the way. That is the difference. So don't have a weak spine and accept everything that a man says that you've got to do in order to keep him, because much of what causes us to settle or give up is a fear of losing that person, a fear of losing their intimacy, a fear of losing their love. And if you're in a relationship where you're constantly afraid of losing their love and the intimacy in that relationship, then it's probably not a healthy relationship and you need to relook at it. But I hope this video answers your question. I really hope that it was able to sort of really bring clarity to the difference between settling and compromise. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on this Women Ask Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye bye now.